The following is a digital media production.
Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Billy Jaffe here with Roenick Life Pod with JR and Jaffe, and we're getting set for another podcast this week. We're being joined, Jay, by Aaron Ekblad, and I think we'll quickly touch on your weekend in Nashville. What do you say?
Yeah, my weekend was pretty crazy. I enjoyed Smash Vegas. It was great. They put on such a great show. I got zinged by John Scott, and we're going to have some fun little callers involved today. So a great show. I'm really looking forward to it.
All right, looking forward to it as well. It's a Roenick Life Pod with JR and Jaffe, powered by digital media.
Here's Roenick, what a move! Jeremy Roenick shot, score! Magic for JR!
Jeremy Roenick.
What the hell is he looking at? How does he not see it?
Mike Milbury's a donkey. That's all he is.
He's a son of a... NHL, wake up.
Billy Jaffe.
There's a lot of energy right now here, and it's only going to build, and I can't wait for that.
This is Roenick Life with JR and Jaffe, powered by digital media. Find your voice.
Well, they call it Nash Vegas, or at least that's one of the names that they use to describe Nashville. The old saying about Vegas, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I don't know if we can say the same thing for Nashville, Jeremy Roenick, because you were there and it's not staying there. We're still talking about it. We are going to be
what a great weekend. What a great weekend.
First of all, let me hear your voice real quick.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a little scruffy right now, but it's because of a few different
bringing
things.
it, though. You're tired, aren't you, bud?
Yeah, I'm tired. Listen, Nashville, and you're right. It's Vegas. It's Vegas without the casinos. I'm telling you, it is.
Right.
It is a party city. And you know, Nashville took over as the #1 bachelorette destination over Las Vegas just recently. So there are bachelorette parties everywhere.
Facts I didn't know, but I do like to know. Yeah,
well, if you're a single guy and you're looking to get hooked up with a bachelorette and her crew, go to Nashville. It is spectacular in terms of its energy, the bar scene, the music. Mm-hmm. My voice is hoarse from doing stuff on NBC and doing all my interviews and talking. Number 2 was the boozing, and the 3 was trying to sing over all the bands that were in Tootsies and in Honky Tonk and all that stuff.
Let's call. I call bullshit. Let's reverse the order of those. 3 number 1 would be singing. Number 2 would be right. Number 3 would be your work. And I listen. Look, I liked your work, buddy. You know that I loved it, but I'm telling you, I call bullshit on you when I call bullshit because I know you well enough.
Yeah, so. That's true. Yeah, but my wife was there to look after me. She had a great time.
I'm sure Trace had a good time too.
Of course she did. But it was a great weekend. My hats off to Nashville, to the Predators, to the fans of Nashville. They put on an amazing All-Star game. The 3-on-3 worked. Mm-hmm. It was great hockey, a lot of action. Yeah, even though it was a 1-0 game in the final, the goaltenders were spectacular. Yep. And had everybody out of their seats. So my hat's off to the NHL. The 3-on-3 worked, and oh my gosh, we're gonna have to talk about John Scott because if
we'll get to that. Trust me. There are things. Remember, the old saying. Sometimes the buildup is not worth the letdown. When you're talking about like a game. Where there was an incident, and then you're gonna have a huge fight the next game, and it doesn't happen. This buildup was pretty good, and then the results of you and John Scott, and even there was I saw a Ryan O'Reilly comment there too. We'll get to that in a moment. Let's start though. I just quickly want to touch on Saturday night, and I caught just a little bit of
the skills.
On skills. Yeah, I just caught a little bit of that while I was away with the family. I had the beautiful benefit of catching both NBC Sports where I was and CBC Hockey Night, so that was great for about 20 minutes or so. But besides that, I want to get your take. Give me top 2 or 3. Don't go through the whole night. Just top 2 or 3 items or elements from skills that really caught your attention.
Okay, it was a great night, and it's one of my favorite nights of the All-Star Weekend. Skills are fun. The guys use their creativity. We can see how really good these guys are talent-wise with their abilities to shoot the puck, pass the puck, skating ability. I would have to say, you like? I think my number 1 was the breakaway challenge, the breakaway relay, when the guys have to figure out different breakaway moves to make. PK Subban, his first attempt, juggles the puck 13 times on his stick, and the 14th time off of his heel behind him, kicks it up to his stick, and he knocks out of midair and almost scores the goal on Pecorine. It was really cool to watch that kind of eye-hand coordination. Then he put the Yager wig on with the old bucket and his jersey and did his best rendition of Jaromir Jagr. I mean,
what is he doing? What is he doing?
I mean, that was just that was a great tribute to Jaromir. So
Wasn't
I like that. And also in the same competition, Joe Pavelski and Brent Burns bringing their kids onto the ice to do a little 2-on-0 drop pass between the two of them, and little Burns scoring the goal and doing his little dance, doing the dance. Those are classic events and classic times that you're never going to forget. And those guys are going to have that enshrined forever that they can share with their kids, and everybody got a kick out of that. So that's one of my first. I think second for me was watching the accuracy shooting, because that's my favorite event. It's I'm one of three.
The Ray Bork along with you. Yep.
Only three of us have got 4 for 4. Actually, I was the last person to go 4 for 4 in the accuracy shooting back in 2004. And you would think with how good these guys shoot the puck that there would be a lot more, but the nerves really get to guys because everybody's watching them. You don't want to miss these targets. But then he had Evgeny Malkin. He goes 3 for 3, and you just know he's going to bury that last one. He stops his rhythm, Billy. He stops and starts getting the crowd going. And I'm like, he's going to do it. He's going to do it. And he hits the crossbar right above it. I'm kind of wondering if he didn't stop to try to get the crowd going, which, by the way, I love that he did that because he's such a great guy. He's such a good guy, a personal guy, cares about the fans, and he got him involved, so I love that personality about him. But I think it cut his rhythm, and he missed that fourth one, and then he hit it on the fifth one, so he went 4 for 5. And again, still no 4 for 4s in the last 12 years. So those are my highlights.
Well, what about Dylan Larkin too? And I caught your interview with him too.
Yeah.
What about him and skating? And I mean, more than skating, scooting. And meanwhile, he actually tripped up a little bit, and he still kept the time, the record time, beat Mike Gartner's time.
I had a lot of time this weekend to hang out with Dylan Larkin, and I made sure that I met the kid and spent some time with him and got to know him. Number one, I love him as a hockey player. You watch him in Detroit; he is wise beyond his years, a lot like Aaron Ekblad, who we'll hear from. But he continues to be one of the most explosive players in the league. His hockey IQ is off the chart. At 19 years old, I talked to him the other day. I said, you know what, Dylan, at this time last year, you were in Michigan. You were playing college hockey. He says, yeah, even more so than that, JR. This is Sunday. I think I was studying for a test or an exam, watching the All-Star game, so this is pretty cool to be here. And then he was in the fastest skater, and he blew away the first race. And then he had the chance to break Mike Gartner's record, and he broke it. So everybody went crazy. So I love that a 19-year-old young superstar, fun, good kid got to have that experience to break Mike Gartner's record. However, I heard Mike Gartner is not happy with this, Billy.
About what? What couldn't he be happy about?
He's not happy that his speed record was broken for 2 reasons. Number one, Dylan Larkin started a zone ahead, so he had a little bit of a head start. The red line to the blue line before the time started. So he had that extra momentum where Mike Gartner had to start from a stopped position from the cameras. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, he was also angry that the nets were brought up a little bit into the blue paint, which allowed a little bit more room behind the net to make that turn and actually maybe save himself a couple hundredths of a second, even though he did slip. So is it a record or is it not a record? Is it exactly like Mike Gartner did it, or is it not exactly like Mike Gartner did it? And that's what he's complaining about.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know Mike Gartner personally. How well do you know him?
I know him very well. So
would this be something
I'm mixed.
he would do?
I'm mixed.
Would this be something he would do though? Do you think?
You know what? I'm kind of on the fence because he's such a great man. I mean, he's a God-fearing man. He's a very humble man, but he likes his notoriety. He's probably one of the top players.
Humble,
he's one of the
notoriety.
He does. Hey, he does like being known for scoring as many goals as he did. I think he's one of those guys that really wants to be in the Hall of Fame. He might be one of the best players that's not in the Hall of Fame, that's not won a Stanley Cup. So he's got all these things hanging over his head. I think he wanted to keep that speed record. So I'm kind of mixed. I'm in the middle. I love Dylan Larkin. I love him. And he had a great, and you know what? Records are made to be broken.
Sure.
However, Mike Gartner does have a point that if they're going to do it, they should do it exactly the same the way Mike Gartner did it. So,
another NHL scandal. Wow.
I don't know if it's a scandal. It's not a scandal, but it's just we
can't get away from scandals at this All-Star weekend.
It's fun dynamics. It's fun dynamics. How about scandals? Oh my gosh, am I ever going to be out of the scandal business? I don't know.
Well,
probably not. Probably not.
No. I'm thinking of too many things that I'm not going to talk about right now. So no, you're not going to be out of scandal business, Jay. I'm sorry, you're just not going to. But all right, you'll lead me now into Sunday, and I do want to hear a teeny bit about the off-ice stuff too, because damn, that's usually some of your best stories, and I want to hear about a few of the places that you went to. But let's get to Sunday. Let's get to the game. A nice, real, colorful, showed very well on TV event. Showed, you know what I mean? Like, they did a nice job of celebrating the game, and a lot of anticipation about what it would look like 3-on-3. I think we both agree. You touched on it already. We don't need to go there. Good speed, some surprisingly good defense, but I completely admit a hockey crush on Patrice Bergeron. Not because I do Bruins games. That's not the reason, but because he plays the game such the right way. And
he played the best defensively of anybody.
Well, it's just smart. He doesn't. I don't even know if he means to do it, Jay. He just does it. Right position, whole hustle, a little bit of physical contact. He was out there, and a few other players too. So I give him high marks for that. The goaltending was tremendous, and
tremendous.
Because it kept them interested in the game. Usually they said, screw this. I don't want to even take a chance. I mean, John Gibson, honest to God, did Bob Murray just about puke when he watched John Gibson make that save?
Do that split save?
Right,
that was
seriously.
a great save. Listen, the best saves of the weekend, that John Gibson split save, the Roberto Luongo dropping his stick with his, behind with his blocker.
How about Quick?
And then the Jonathan Quick with the slap the puck from behind him out in the final game. The goaltenders were spectacular. Yeah. And the action was spectacular.
Murph, when he saw that split and the rest of the Anaheim Ducks organization.
He definitely took a sip of something. Yeah, for sure. You know what's crazy though is I went to watch John Gibson play in the opening night of the San Diego Gulls, the AHL team, the AHL affiliate of the Anaheim Ducks. So you tell me how far this kid has come. Obviously, he's known to be a very good goaltender, but he started with the AHL, and now he's in the All-Star game. That's a pretty cool year, don't you think?
I mean, it's a great year. Now, listen, it was a somewhat of a technicality to get him starting the A. Yes and no, in the sense
it's okay. That's
they
okay.
knew. No, but
it still happened.
But no, it's unbelievable. What they said was, listen, we're signing you to that 3-year, $3 million plus extension. You're gonna be our guy. But for now, we got Hudobin here and Anderson. So you're gonna go down there and you're gonna work. And by the way, they've got one of the best goaltending guys that works in their organization, along with Dwayne Rollison and Sudsy Mirage, who he works so damn well with guys, and he's had a hand in this. But Gibson and his personality, Jay, you're absolutely right. So strong. This is a guy, you talk to anybody, by the way, the Ducks, and they say, nothing bothers him.
Yeah,
he gets it.
Great.
He understands it. So good year for him. Great save.
All right, enough about goaltenders.
I know.
Enough about goaltenders.
The main event. All right, now listen.
The main event.
Yes, you were pardoning people like a president at the end of his term. Or are you running for office or something? Or getting out of office? All right.
You couldn't write this script, okay?
For John Scott, you could not write it.
You cannot write this script. You know how much money you would have made in Vegas to have these things unravel the way that they did?
Yeah.
I mean, oh my good, you'd make way more money than John Scott made winning the 3-on-3. That is for sure.
All right, so let's set it up. So, and everybody listening here probably watched. John Scott gets into the All-Star game, a big to-do by many people that were for it or against it. Long story short, he's in the game, and in the semifinal, he scores. Not just once, he scores twice. I mean, he scores 2 damn nice goals, especially that second one on the breakaway. He gets it up there.
The second one was playing
real well.
Pretty awesome.
Standing ovations. Everybody's going, gaga over John Scott. And then you get into it, and then there's an interview on the bench.
Let me before we go to the interview, let me give you the weekend wrap up of John Scott. Okay,
right.
Let me give you the weekend wrap up.
Okay.
So we get there, and John Scott gets there, and they have the media day. And we go out, and John Scott gets in front of the media, and it's just a horde of cameras and writers and microphones and all that stuff. And he was just overwhelmed. He's like, "Oh my God, I must be a superstar right now. I got to take a picture of you guys wanting to talk to me." So he takes the picture. I think we probably saw that on NHL Network. But anyway, he handled himself extremely well, and I have to say, he didn't throw jabs too many places. He didn't I think over talk himself. He did say some things that were, everybody was like, okay, really? Like, you're not a superstar, John, but you're definitely the superstar of the weekend. You're definitely the interest of the weekend, and he handled the media beautifully. He was humble, he was excited, he was playing the role of enjoying it as much as he could, giving a lot of props to his teammates. So that was great. Now we get on to the skills competition, and he doesn't have much to do, but he was still playing around, having fun with the boys. And then his first event was the hardest shot, and I'm gonna bitch my Twitter followers again because they have no idea, because they just want to stir the pot. So he takes his first shot, and it's 92 miles an hour. Now, you would think at 6'8", 275 pounds, you can shoot the puck harder than 92 miles an hour. Yeah, Steven Stamkos is throwing at 103, right? But anyway, and I said on air, well, 92, it looks like he needs to lift a couple weights. That's the first thing that I said about John Scott all weekend. The first thing I said, well, it looks like he needs to hit the gym a little bit, okay?
Coming from you, body by JR.
Yeah, that's nothing. That's nothing. He's 92. And by the way, he's a big guy. He's not the most muscle-based guy, but he's big and strong, but he still shot at 92. His second one was 95. I mean, it's okay. I mean, I think you'd expect more from a guy his size, but that's okay. But that's all I said. Okay, that's all I said. And the next thing we do that John Scott does is the breakaway relay, okay? His first one, not so good. His second one, he tries to do a spinorama, backhand. And I thought it was great. I went, whoa, look at John Scott's trying to do something cool in the shootout. He does a spinorama. He misses. It's a great save. And I said, wow, I didn't think he had that in him, okay? Because I wasn't expecting that. That was the second thing I said about John Scott, and that was the last thing I said about John Scott that night. I did not mention his name one other time, and my Twitter feed goes off saying what an asshole I am and what a jerk I am and what this I am, and that JR is all over John Scott and stop ripping John Scott and JR crushing John Scott and JR, you're this and you're that because you're demoralizing. I didn't say anything. And it's just amazing how people take little things and they make it a monstrosity of a deal. It made me laugh, and it made me think of how stupid Twitter is sometimes to allow people that platform to make such commotion and to stir the pot as much as some of these Twitter followers want to do. So I was shocked that people said that I was all over John Scott when those are the only two things that I said about him until he comes onto the game. And I know I'm talking a lot, Billy, but that this is important because I thought John Scott did not look out of place. Okay, he wasn't the superstar flying around. He wasn't flashy, but you know what he did? He kept it simple. He had a great first shift where Brent Burns, he was looking for John Scott. He had a chance to power a slap shot and blow it by the goaltender, but you know what he did? John Scott went to the net. He faked the shot. He put a perfect pass right on the John Scott stick. And actually, he kind of missed it. He missed the shot, and it went off the goaltender and in, but it was a good goal. Right? It was a beautiful pass and goal on the first shift. So now we're starting off. John Scott's perfect. He makes a good. Then he gets a breakaway later in the game, and he fights off the checker, and he puts a beautiful wrist shot, top shelf. It was a beautiful goal. Now he's got 2 goals. Then he goes and he hits Patrick Kane, who's been getting booed by the whole arena for 2 days. So everybody loved that John Scott hit Patrick Kane, who was enemy number one, when Chicago comes in against Nashville. Unfortunately, Patrick Kane came right down, scored a goal, but then they had the little fight, the fake fight, which I thought was great. That just, good for Patrick Kane to do that. Good for John to play along with them. That's good stuff. So he was the most entertaining part of the game and the most talked about part of the game. Don't you agree, Billy?
Oh, there's no question about it. I mean,
Okay.
the All-Star Weekend became, especially the game part, became John Scott.
People rallied around John Scott more than anybody has rallied around anybody in the All-Star game as long as I can remember. So, that being said, as much as maybe I didn't want to do it, as much as I didn't want John Scott there, and I have made it very public that I thought it was wrong, I said, you know what, I have to interview him. I have to suck it up, and I have to put my pride under wraps and go interview him.
Now, let's back up 1 second, though. You didn't have a chance to speak with him at all on set, like not even in a locker room environment, anything.
No, I didn't say I didn't have a chance. I could have had a chance as much as I wanted to, but I really wanted to avoid him at all costs. Not because I was afraid of what he's going to say to me or whether he's going to punch me. I didn't want to get into a confrontation where if he would have said something to me, I would have been 100% aggressive in going back at him with my beliefs and my thoughts. And I didn't think he deserved that. I wanted him to enjoy his time. And
do you think that he knew how you felt? Do you think that
he definitely, without question, he knew how I felt, and that's okay. But he handled himself with so much class, Billy, and I appreciate that. So anyway, so I get him. I get him on bench. I said, John, I got to talk to you. Let's put you on NBC. And I said, listen. I was highly critical of you being here, and I got to tell you, I was wrong because you're the highlight of the All-Star game right now. You have 2 goals, your fights, you have a chance for a Gordie Howe hat trick. You know what? I was wrong. He goes, well, JR, it's not the first time you're ever wrong, so let's get that out of the way. Great jab. Yep. That was an awesome. I love that he said that. It made me laugh. It made me chuckle. It was a good way for him to kind of, with class, throw a dig at me saying, no, screw you, JR. Look what I just did. And I thought that was cool. But he was the story. In television, we have moments on television. And I thought that he needed his moment, and it was great. And that's what it was all about. And we didn't talk really after that. And he went on to win the MVP. And I think he won the MVP, because the crowd got behind him. I think Luongo deserved it ahead of him. That's not being bad. Maybe Johnny Gaudreau.
I thought Johnny Gaudreau was
Johnny Gaudreau was outstanding. It was awesome. But the 2 best players in terms of talent and what they did and performed was Johnny Gaudreau and Luongo. But there was no question that the populist vote was for John Scott.
And understandably so. And I get all that. So let me ask you this: I'm not trying to pretend like we're sitting on Dr. Phil's couch or anything right here, but did you feel, when you said it, was it important for you? You felt it was important for you to say? Do you think that it was the apology, so to speak? Do you think that it made him feel better? Do you even care if it did or not? Like because some people might not have even apologized. You know what I mean? They might.
Well, listen, I didn't apologize, and I won't apologize. I said, hey, you know what? I said, maybe I was wrong. I'm not saying sorry for all the things that I said. I still believe that he shouldn't have been there. Don't get me wrong. He didn't belong there. He just didn't. And but the fact that he was there, and the fact that he held himself with class, and that he played well, and he did all that stuff. Okay, I got to give him props. There's no question. The fact that he threw a little jab at me, I loved. And by the way, hey, Mr. Puck Daddy, when you want to get readers to read your Yahoo blog, okay, don't say, look at John Scott destroying Jeremy Roenick. All right, destroying is not saying, well, it's not the first time you've been wrong, by the way, JR. That's not destroying. That's called a good little jab. So, if that's what you need to have fake headlines to get people to read your stupid blog, then go ahead, Mr. Puck Daddy. But that's all I'm going to say about that. But John Scott deserved to have that platform to be known that he was sitting right in.
Do you think his performance now alters what the NHL may or may not do in tinkering with the All-Star selection? Meaning they with all the you can't manufacture what we ended up seeing. You just can't. We talk about it as a Hollywood type script or whatever. It's true. You know what I mean? You can't. So do you still think?
And everybody won. Everybody won, Billy. Everybody won in the weekend. Nashville won. The NHL won. John Scott won. Everybody won. It was a great weekend all the way around. But yes, there was a lot of talk around Nashville by some of the higher ups and people that I talked to that the rules and the way of voting and everything, the system is going to be changed because of it.
All right. Now, you also had a little bit of an apology while we're on. Apology is not the right word, but you had a little thing.
Yeah, sometimes,
with Ryan O'Reilly too. I mean, like I said, you're kind of like a president pardoning everybody here before you get out of office. What was this huggy feeling? I mean, you were giving it to Ryan O'Reilly too, or what?
Well, I gave it to Ryan O'Reilly earlier in the year, beginning of the year, after he signed this big deal with Buffalo, and I was pretty shocked. And I got to admit, I would watch Ryan O'Reilly play, but I hadn't really studied him. He was the guy who went 80 games without taking a penalty, and his only penalty that he got was playing the puck with a broken stick that one year. And I made my comments. I said he was overrated and overpaid. Since he's been in Buffalo, I've really watched him this year. I've watched him intently. I've watched the things that he's done.
He's also been better.
And he's been better with less talent around him. And I think that's what made me really look at Ryan O'Reilly and say, wow, this kid can play. And I saw him at one of the bars that we were all hanging out at over the weekend. And I called him over and I said, Ryan, number one, first, it's great to meet you. I said, but I have to be totally honest with you. I said that you were overpaid and overrated a couple times this year, and I have to tell you face to face that I apologize. I was 100% wrong. You're an unbelievable hockey player. Your hockey sense is great. You're making Buffalo better. And if you heard what I said, I apologize, but I'm just telling you right now, I don't think that of you. I think you deserve your money. I think Buffalo is is really lucky to have you. And sometimes Billy, you're going to see things that are going to change your mind, or you're going to know that you're wrong. And all those people who think I have too big of an ego where I can't admit things or say that I'm sorry or that I'm too cocky or too arrogant to have a heart and to know when things need to be said. They don't know me at all, because I love people, I love the game, I love life, and I'm not afraid to admit when I've made a mistake, either by my analysis or if I've made a mistake just in general. And I made a mistake in my analysis over Ryan O'Reilly, and I wanted to make sure that I apologized to him face to face, and then made it public afterwards to make sure that people that maybe took offense to what I said to Ryan know that I kind of fixed that too. So it was really nice, and he's a fantastic guy. He's just awesome.
Well, he's having a really, really good year. There's no question about it right now, and he is making a big difference with the Buffalo Sabres. It's still a tough year for them, but they're still going real well. Let's quickly get in before we go. I want to get 2 Ask JR questions in via Twitter, and then we're going to take a few calls.
That's great.
Later,
Let's do that.
A little later too.
That's great.
I want to know 2 favorite spots that you went out to in Nashville as well. I'm sure you had to have a go-to restaurant and a go-to.
Okay, I'll give you one of each. Okay, so the best restaurant that I went to was on the Strip at Broadway. It was called Merchants. Mm-hmm. It was spectacular. It took we sat at the bar, but it was like an hour wait to get a table. It was great for lunch, great for dinner. I had the blackened catfish. It was absolutely off the charts. They had tater tots that were deep fried in duck oil. I mean, are you kidding me?
So you're off the diet.
No, I was off the diet for the weekend for sure. The Merchants, absolutely off the chart. If you go to Nashville, go to Merchants. And then, of course, the legendary Tootsie's. Tootsie's was wall-to-wall, jam-packed every single night. Great bands. We were lucky enough to get a table in the corner, so we weren't totally.
You hanging out with Milbury and Pierre? You guys, all 3 of you?
Absolutely not. I was. I was with our buddy Ben Boma.
Benny.
Yeah, yes. I was with my wife and David Wells' wife, Nina, and we were hanging out with Matthew Barnaby. Matt Barnaby came and joined us for a little bit, so we had a great time. But definitely, those are the 2 best spots that we hit.
All right, real quick, let's end up this segment here with Roenick Life Pod with JR and Jaffe with 2 Ask JR questions. One comes from clantastic. All right. Did you ever object to something said about you by an expert so much that you wanted to hit the guy? I think this is in reference to where you thought your jaw might be shattered by John Scott. And how many times, or is there somebody that you wanted to get after?
I want to hit people on about 30 times a day, probably.
What about when you were playing?
30 times a day. 30 times a day that happens on Twitter, but that's okay. Okay. So in terms of
when you were playing
television,
when you were playing, did you object to something that a so-called an expert said?
One time that I can make mention of, and I've actually talked to this gentleman about it, and we laughed it off. Dan Patrick said a couple things about me after I'd had that, the fans could kiss my ass comment a long time ago during the lockout. And he said some things that I said, if I see you, I'm going to knock you right in your jaw. And I think he thought that too, because when we went to the Olympics, he avoided me, thinking that I hated him and I wanted to hit him, so he avoided me at all costs. But when I finally got him, when I finally got to him, we talked about it and we laughed about it, and then we shrugged it off. But at the time, it was pretty irritating. Him and I are friends now, but at the specific time that he made those references, I wanted to knock him out. By the way, I'm sure he wanted to knock me out many, many times. Dan Patrick is a pretty fiery guy, and he's very, very good at what he does.
Yeah, very good at what he does. He got a little. He's got the attitude. He's got the right attitude. Yeah, he's great.
He's awesome.
All right, O'Neill's Hockey says, "Were you surprised that the players embraced John Scott as much as they did?"
No, not at all. Because in the National Hockey League, when you're in the National Hockey League and you're in the locker room, whether you're in your own locker room or there's guys on the other end, it is thought of as a family. And even though these guys go out and play hard and they hit each other and sometimes show a lot of disrespect to each other by some of the plays, and they fight, it is one big family. 700 members of the National Hockey League, and they're going to support each other. I don't think there would be anybody in the National Hockey League that would say bad things about John Scott being in the All-Star game. They're gonna support each other, and they did that very well this weekend.
All right, last one from T Squared. It's at Todd_L_T. I think you touched on this, but we'll get it in here. Did John Scott say anything funny to you when the camera was off?
No, he didn't say anything to me. Actually, I'll take that back a little bit. When I asked him to come over to do an interview, he came over and said, "What, am I in trouble now?" And I'm like, "No, John, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, we need to get you on
principal?
There." Yeah, he says, "What am I in trouble?" I'm like,
you should have been the one asking him.
Yeah, I should have said, "Am I in trouble, John?" So anyway, no, that was kind of he did make that little witty comment. Yeah.
All right, that's great. And remember, every week we'll try and get a few on #AskJR, so you can always join us here at Roenick Life Pod with JR and Jaffe. All right, that does it for this segment. Coming up, we're going to catch up with Aaron Ekblad, who's making his way back from Nashville down to Florida to get ready for his team's games and practice. So keep it right here for more Roenick Life Pod with JR and Jaffe.
When you're running your own business, you're bound to be busy. Too busy. Too busy worrying about your budget. Too busy scheduling appointments. Too busy to build a website for your business. And because you're too busy, it has to be easy. And that's where Wix.com comes in. With Wix.com, it's easy for you to create your stunning website. Go to Wix.com and create your website today. It's easy and free. That's Wix.com.
This is Roenick Life with JR and Jaffe.
All right, well, enough of us talking about the All-Star Weekend and what it was all about from our perspective, which I think is a pretty good perspective, but not like being on the inside like this guy was. And I know, JR, you spoke to him yesterday, watched the interview, as did many other people on NBC Sports. And Aaron Ekblad, who represented the Florida Panthers along with Roberto Luongo and other guys. And
don't forget Jaromir Jagr.
I was going to say, and the emeritus Jaromir Jagr for sure as well. Aaron Ekblad joining us here. And Aaron, first of all, we know that you're on your way back, racing to practice, so we thank you for joining us here. How are you feeling physically and I guess emotionally after the very fun, but I'm sure at times tiring weekend in Nashville?
Yeah, I mean, we actually had a couple of days off before we went there, so the body's feeling pretty good, and I wouldn't hazard to say it's feeling better than some guys, because we actually worked pretty hard in that 3-on-3 game. So I think we'll probably feel better come Tuesday and Wednesday when all the teams play.
Aaron, I think a lot of people forget. I mean, you look so comfortable out there. People have been talking about you now for a couple years, and I think it would surprise a lot of people that this is your second year in the league. It's your second All-Star game. And you just are so wise beyond your years and talented beyond your years. And how much different was this one from last one? And what can you say about how fast you have really jumped to stardom in your first 2 years in the league?
It makes it, it's pretty funny when you say stardom. I don't really think of it that way. I just kind of feel like a normal kid that's just playing the game that he loves. And I know that's kind of a cliche answer, but it really is the way I feel. And I really just genuinely love what I do. Last year, just tried to come into the league and kind of play a good, reliable, responsible game for the Panthers here, and the coaches kind of gave me quite a bit of confidence and gave me the green light to do a lot more than just that. So, with that kind of confidence and the help from my teammates and playing with a guy like Brian Campbell and being mentored by a guy like Willie Mitchell off the ice, it kind of helps you grow up quick. And, I can't thank enough the kind of support that I've had from a lot of different people. And of course, making it to the All-Star game last year, I was one of the 5 rookies that were brought in, and I got in on an injury, so it wasn't exactly the...
Hey, it doesn't matter how you got in. You were there, and you deserve to be there, my friend. Trust me.
I appreciate that, but I did get in on an injury, so it wasn't exactly the same feeling, deep down, as it was this year, where, I got picked, and our team's doing really well, and obviously that's kind of a direct representation of the guys that we had in Lou, myself, and Yogs there, and there's a couple more guys on our team that I feel could have made it. It's we're that good down here in Florida, and we're putting on a show.
You turned the ripe old age of 20 on was it February 7th? So just a few days, early February. You're getting to be an old man. Be careful here, and it's all downhill after 20. With that said, how nervous do you get when you get into these environments, or don't you get nervous at all? Because as you said, last year you had the All-Star experience. This year you earned it in a different way. Not that last year wasn't validated, but still, do these moments, do you get nervous? Do you get excited? What do you get for them as a still teenager?
Last year it was kind of, thrown at me pretty quickly that I was going to be playing, so I really didn't even have that much time to be nervous. Whereas I think this year, sitting in the room, sitting next to, Carlson and Yager, and just kind of, feeling the vibes in the room. It was a little bit nerve-wracking at first until I got on the ice and was able to get a couple shifts under my belt. And, the skills competitions is always nerve-wracking because you don't want to screw it up, especially in the relay race. But no, I'm usually pretty good with nerves. I've been thrown into the fire. In junior hockey, I played a year early, and in the NHL, they started playing me 20 minutes a night in my first game. So, it's pretty easy to put nerves behind you when you've been thrown on the fire all your life.
What were you more nervous for, as a 15-year-old going into the OHL, your first game in the NHL? And some people might think that's an odd question, but 15 years old in the OHL, for a lot of kids, that's the biggest thing that they've dreamed of.
Yeah. No, it really was. It was honestly, it was a dream come true that I was able to get that whole exceptional status thing and play early, because I didn't want to play minor midget anymore. I played with the older guys all my life. But yeah, it was definitely nerve-wracking my first couple games. I tried to take it slow and do the similar kind of thing that I did in the NHL, and what worked. And it's been rewarding ever since. It's been a pretty fun ride, and like you guys say, I'm only 20, or not even 20 yet, so hopefully I got a lot more fun ahead of me.
You absolutely do. Hey, take us into the locker room, Aaron. Yesterday and the day before this weekend, you said you're sitting next to Yager and Carlson, but there's so many great NHL stars in there. Any good stories, or was anybody tell any good stories or give you any good advice, or is there anything inside that locker room that just made you go, wow, this is just awesome?
Well, as you know, I'm a lot of the guys, I'm sure everyone knows by now, a lot of the guys had a ton of fun in Nashville, so you can only imagine the kind of stories that you hear when you're sitting in a dressing room like that, full of guys who have free reign and a green light in Nashville. So definitely plenty of stories to go around. Not many that I can tell, but it's always fun to sit and laugh at what Yager and Subban are telling each other. It's always a good time. There's no doubt.
Yeah, they're definitely two of the most outgoing and personable people that you can get in charge. I can imagine what kind of trouble they got into up in Nashville.
It always comes back to Jaromir Jagr, and when you're talking about the Florida Panthers. And I know that you've seen him and his work ethic and what he does an awful lot, and I'm sure you've talked with him. But have you ever just sat down with him at dinner? Have you guys ever just gone out for dinner, the two of you or a small group of you, and had one of those kind of almost outer body experiences?
I've never done that at dinner. I think I've sat and talked to him once or twice. Short conversations. Obviously, there's quite the age gap, so it's kind of hard to find things that we have in common. But I did that a lot last year with guys like Willie Mitchell and Eric Branson. Obviously Willie towards the end of his career might be his last year, and Branson about a quarter of the way through, or maybe half, I'm not sure. But even Sean Thornton as well. I've sat at dinner with those guys and kind of picked their brains, and a lot of times I'm just sitting there listening. I'm not even saying a word, and you can definitely learn a lot from guys that have been in the league for a long time. I'm sure I could learn a lot from you, JR, just sitting and talking, and your buddy Claude Lemieux, Brennan's dad, who I lived with Brennan for a while and stuff. I love sitting and talking to him as well. He's a great hockey mind, and helped me a lot in junior actually whenever I was in a slump or something like that. So I love sitting and listening, and obviously I have Bobby Orr as well, who I love talking to, and hearing what he has to say. He's always got something that sticks with you forever.
What was the hardest thing? I mean, you were drafted number 1 overall. You come into a team that's struggling for years to try to make the playoffs again, and now you guys are rolling. But what has been the hardest thing for you coming into the National Hockey League, and now where you're going at now with obviously your team rolling along? But it had to have been tough to come into a non-hockey market and develop and to get to where you and where your team is now. So what was the toughest part, buddy?
Well, some people might think it's tough, but I mean, coming into a market where it's quiet, there's not a lot of media attention, you can kind of fly under the radar is a blessing in disguise. I mean, I got to not be tackled by the media basically ever. I still don't at all. No one does here. It's pretty awesome, actually. We get to basically just fly under the radar and not get a whole lot of attention. But some could say that's a bad thing. But now that we're rolling and doing well, we want to bring as much attention to ourselves as possible. And obviously the fans are starting to come out. We have more and more attendance every game. People understand the Florida Panthers are coming, and it's now a really, really fun thing to be a part of. And it's been a short period of time that we've been able to make that jump and become an elite team that's in the trenches and battling every night and winning games. It's there really hasn't been too many hard parts. I mean, obviously we lost a couple of games last year that we didn't want to lose, but we knew we were always in the mix, and that was kind of the best part.
Your ticket requests have to be up, though, right? I mean, the amount of people that are coming to see you guys since the second half of the first half of the season has been a pretty significant jump.
Oh, huge jump. I mean, the ticket requests have gone up significantly, but it's always up because everyone wants to vacation in Florida. But it really is awesome to see what we're doing here, and to see it firsthand is much better. So
talk about your team a little bit, because you guys rattled off 12 wins in a row. Then you went for a little bit of a slide, but that's common after you guys are hot. You take your foot off the pedal a little bit. But you have so much talent. I mean, not even just talking about yourself, but you look at Barkov, just signed a brand new deal. You have Huberdeau. You have some really solid quality people. That Bukestad, I think, goes under the radar as one of the more powerhouse forwards that I think is up and coming. Talk a little bit about your team and how it's gelling right now, and why you guys are just rolling along this year. And again, I know it's a kind of repetitive question before, but talk a little bit about some of the guys on your team and how good they really are.
We have a really, really strong defensive core, and by defensive core, I don't mean the 7 guys that are on the back end. I'm talking our goalie, our 6-7 defensemen, and our 13 forwards who are able to kind of play in 5-man units and start in our defensive zone. And it's really obvious when you see our first line start in the defensive zone. You see Sasha Barkov. He's one of the best defensive centermen in the league. And then you match that with how good he is offensively, and he's going to be one of the best players to play the game. I think he's only just starting. He's had a couple injuries, but wow, is he good, and it's so fun to watch on a nightly basis. Whether it's a defensive zone draw, or a great defensive play, or, going in and scoring the big goal or the big shootout goal at the end of the game. I mean, he's got everything in his bag, and of course he's being mentored by Yogs, and then of course underrated third, fourth line ever. Derek
Ever.
McKenzie,
That's pretty good. I like that. Yeah, I like that. That McKenzie's a tough son of a bitch.
He will eat a puck in any situation. Sean Thornton will fight for any guy on this team. Our young guys, Shaw and Howden, the guys that are up and down Brickley, guys that are just kind of fighting for their jobs. They're taking care of business like crazy. It's so fun to watch. Howden's one of the fastest players in the NHL if you ever get a chance to see that. And then, underrated defenseman Eric Branson. That guy hits like a truck, plays great defensively. His penalty killing is off the charts. I mean, it's so fun to watch our team, and we have so many great parts. And, of course, Luongo, you don't even have to say anything about him. It's just like Yager. They're great players. But, Montoya, who's playing behind him, has, one of the better records of a backup goalie this season. So all cylinders are firing, and we got to obviously make sure that we continue that for the rest of the season. There's some great players on this team. There's some underrated players on this team, and it's really, really fun to watch.
What have you learned the most playing in front of Roberto Luongo? What have you learned from him the most?
I can make a mistake and still be okay. Lou's awesome. I mean, I've just kind of learned, how to play good defensive hockey. I mean, whether it's him, chiming in, or Willie Mitchell, they make it kind of easy to understand the game from a defensive standpoint.
What about guys in the league? You're traveling around, teams are coming into Florida, you're traveling, going into other arenas. Is there another player or players that when you're getting ready to play, you're like, oh, Christ, this is going to be a tough night, or I can't believe I'm playing against this guy? Or is there any guy like that your eyes open up wide and be like, either you can't wait or holy crap, just don't let me embarrass myself?
Not a whole lot of players, but I got to be honest, that LA Kings team, that Kopitar and Carter and all those guys, that's a tough team to play against. They're big, they're strong, they give you absolutely no time and space. You definitely, I wouldn't say that I'm scared to play them. I'm just kind of anxious and excited and stuff like that, and ready for the challenge for sure. But there's a couple of teams. I mean, Boston's like that as well, with Bergeron and Marchand and stuff like that. Those guys can kind of make you look silly because they're so good defensively.
I'm listening to you talk, and I've met you before, and we've talked before, and I think I'm listening to a 30-year-old, and I mean that in the most complimentary way. I mean, it's amazing, Aaron. I'm assuming you've been very mature your whole life, exceptional status, as you mentioned. Is there anything that makes you uncomfortable? And I'm talking outside of hockey even, too. Is there something that just makes you uncomfortable that almost doesn't allow you to be this so damn mature at such a young age and so spot on?
I don't know. I guess I've just been groomed well. My parents kind of always push me to be beyond my years and stuff like that. And obviously I'm still a kid. I have my fun and I joke around, and I'm not so serious all the time. But I mean, I really like to enjoy myself outside of the rink. There's no doubt about it. But when it comes down to business, like things like this or the game of hockey, I care about it, and I'm just kind of mature, I guess. I don't know.
It is pretty hard, though. I mean, let's count off some of the things that you have. You have your health. You have a great job. You make a lot of money, and you're a beautiful person. Like, how hard is it to be your age and have so much success? I'm sure girls down in Florida are just flocking all over you. Like, who's controlling you? Who are you learning from? Who are you listening to? Because there's a lot of trouble. We've seen a lot of guys get into trouble when they get to this situation and they have everything thrown at them. That's a tough thing. How are you controlling it? Who is making sure that they're watching Aaron Ekblad?
I mean, I kind of watch over myself in a sense where I know what...
That's pretty good, buddy. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, like the difference between right and wrong. I understand it, and I know, when enough is enough. And I understand when, you got to be a pro and kind of manage yourself. But I've definitely had a lot of help. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Sean Thornton, Brian Campbell, and Willie Mitchell are the three guys that I turn to the most whenever I need something. And, of course, my parents. I mean, my parents are the two people that have raised me. They know me the best. But definitely number one would be Willie Mitchell. I mean, he's helped me through, thick and thin for the past year and a half, ever since we lived together and stuff like that. He's kind of taught me the a difference between right and wrong and through a hockey perspective, and he's definitely played long enough to have enough experience to tell me when I'm wrong, and I listen, and we've had our battles before, but we're brothers, and he kind of cares for me. So it's him and his wife, probably, for sure, are the two people that look out for me the most.
Don't leave the wife out ever. Don't leave the wife out, because the women are the one that keep all of us in line, no question about it. So if we found you in the off season, Aaron, having just a good, relaxing time and kind of letting loose a bit, what would that be you doing?
I just bought a new house actually back home. It'd be with my 6 or 7 best buddies who we hang out basically every single day. Legal in Canada, so maybe a beer in the backyard or on the boat or something like that, or maybe a round of golf at the local course.
So, second half of the season coming in now, what do your guys focus? Obviously, it's a dogfight for these playoff spots, but I think Gerard Gallant has done a great job with your team. And what's he been preaching here, coming into the second half of the season and making sure you guys don't have any lulls?
Gerard preaches a lot, but a lot of the preaching comes from inside, which I think is actually a really, really cool.
Yeah, that's great.
Dynamic. Our players and our team and our leaders, they take care of us, and they harp on us to make sure that we're doing the right things. And we have team meetings and stuff like that when things aren't going the way they should. But when things are rolling, not a lot has to be said. We're on a 3-game win streak. Obviously, we have Washington tomorrow. If we can continue that, then I'm sure not a lot will have to be said. But if we let things slide into our games, I'm sure there'll be more preaching to be had.
Well, Aaron, we appreciate you taking some time after your busy weekend in Nashville. By the way, my sources tell me that is it you on your team that eats more cookies than anybody else? Is that correct? That you are all about the cookies? And
it's not like I eat a cookie every single day. So before games, that, I don't know, I'm sure JR knows, but that pregame snack that you have.
Yep.
That's my pregame snack. There is just a cookie. It's at the hotel or whatever. Or it's not like I munch on cookies for 8 hours a day.
Well, I do. I'll eat the rest.
I was going to say you should give it a shot. I do it too. It's pretty fantastic. But
I can't wait till I have that opportunity.
Well, listen. I really love having you on. You're one of my favorite guys in the world. Not only just players, but you're one of my favorite guys. My son absolutely loves you and worships you, and I want to thank you for being so great to him too. So, he's living his NHL dream through you, and buddy, I really thank you for that and appreciate it. And thanks for coming on. And keep rocking and rolling, buddy. Keep rocking and rolling.
Yeah, Brett's an awesome guy. I love hanging out with him, and hopefully I'll make it down to California and we can get the boys back together.
You better.
Sure. Right?
We got the links waiting for you. Okay.
All right, have a great day. Enjoy the week. Thanks for joining us, All-Star Aaron Ekblad.
All right, thanks, guys. Bye.
It'll be home to 942 bursts of laughter, a 16-pound blackened turkey dinner, and the loudest burp on record. It will see its fair share of broken windows, broken bones, and broken hearts. But first, you have to find it. Start your home search at Zillow.com or on our family of apps. You can view millions of photos, browse historical pricing data, and even sign up for alerts when new homes hit the market. Zillow. Find your way home.
This is Roenick Life with Jeremy Roenick and Billy Jaffe.
Again, thanks a lot to Aaron Ekblad for taking time as he gets himself back for we'll call it the second half, not officially, but that's what we all think of the NHL season. Time now, Jeremy, we're going to take a few calls. All right, buddy? We got time for a few of them.
One of my favorite parts of the show when we get some of the fans out there to chime in.
All right, the first one from New York City. I think I know this guy a bit. Elliot, welcome into Roenick Life Pod with JR and Jaffe.
Billy, it has been a long time, has it not?
Is it? How you doing, my friend?
Doing well. Yourself?
Awesome, thanks. What's going on?
Well, watching it last night, it reminded me, I actually had the opportunity to witness something of a primitive forerunner of the John Scott for All-Star campaign. 2006, the Hobie Baker Award did online fan balloting as a tiny percentage of the overall vote. And fans at the University of Denver, who they actually had the winner that year with Matt Carl, but they got behind their third goalie, a guy named Danny King. And I was actually fortunate enough to be at Magnus Arena a year later when the one time in his 4 years that Danny King got into a game, and the reaction from that crowd and the big hug he got from, I think the goalie that night was Peter Menino, it just seeing fans get behind that kind of guy, because you know that
it's very true.
The third goalies, the enforcers, these guys who sometimes go unappreciated, you know how much their teammates love them, and I think when you saw John Scott go up on the shoulders last night at the end of the game, it just came back to me, and it was fun. You know,
it's a good analysis. There's no question, but there's a few things that are different in these scenarios, and I totally get what you're saying, and I love it. The fact that their own crowd, their own team got behind their third goaltender, so his votes actually came from people that were supporters and really people that see him on a normal basis. So they all rallied around a small little section to get that happen. That didn't happen with John Scott. We had two knuckleheads that started a joke campaign, okay, that allowed people from all over the place, whether they knew John Scott or not, they jumped on a campaign that was started from a podcast or a blog to see if they can get John Scott into the game. So, and I can tell you, most of the people that voted for John Scott, I would be willing to bet didn't even know who he was or where he played. So it started differently because of John Scott. So I will look at it that way. And another good example that what you can think of is Zemgus Girgensons last year. Okay, Zemgus Girgensons is not a star in the National Hockey League, but he was one of the tops in the vote getting because his entire country voted for him and got online and supported him. So he had a country that was voting for him because he's the only player, if not one of the only players in the National Hockey League from his country. So those are two different scenarios in relation to what happened with John Scott. But there's no question in my mind that when that does happen, and Elliot, it's a great point by you, when the underdog is there or when someone who doesn't get enough appreciation for the job that he does do, the fans are going to rally behind him, and they did it at the All-Star game, and it turned out to be a great, I think, a great tribute to John Scott.
Yeah, no, Elliot, good stuff, buddy. Always good. I knew Elliot. I've known him for a long time from the college hockey days. You can tell by his reference.
Yeah. It was a good call. It was a good reference, by the way.
Yeah. Now, do you really think that the guys that voted for John Scott, the people, who knows who the hell, they're all over, whatever. You really didn't think they knew who they were? See, I think they knew who he. I think they knew who he was, and because of that.
Hold on a second. Yeah. First of all, John Scott was playing in Arizona. Mm-hmm. Okay, a small market team. And he had to get thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of votes in order to get that captain assignment. Okay, I would venture to guess 50% of the people started voting for him without knowing who they were. But once it started, obviously probably Googling him and trying to find out who he was, trying to look him up via the internet. But I do not think that a lot of them started the voting for that. I think it was all started because of the campaign. That's my belief.
I think it was started because, no question, it started because of the campaign. I think they knew him because of his infamous fights and his issues and his incidents and stuff like that. So,
I can't even remember any great fights that he's gotten into.
He's gotten into fights.
He's gotten into fights, but I don't remember one that stands
that's
out.
what makes him famous. That's what made him famous in the NHL. That's what I mean. That's what he did. That's what I'm saying.
Bad word.
Okay. So, I made a mistake.
Maybe the movie Almost Famous.
Oh, there you go. Almost. All right. Let's get to our next call. We're going to Chicago, where we always love going because that's where I'm from originally, and JR pretty much is a Chicagoan as well, even though he's from Boston originally too. Jonathan is there calling into Roenick Life Pod with JR and Jaffe. What's up, Jonathan?
Billy, JR, what's going on, guys?
What's up, Jonathan? How you doing, pal?
I talked to you guys a couple weeks ago, and I was right on board with you and totally disagreeing with the whole John Scott, story and debacle. And, I have to say that I was blown away at how cool the whole event was and what a great time it was watching. I didn't turn away for one moment. From Kane scoring and fake fighting with Scott to Scott on his first shot.
You think the NHL got it right this year? You think they got it right?
The NHL got it exactly right. And, I work in an office with about 35 people. The whole conversation this whole morning has been the All-Star game. Did you watch it? What was the best part? This forth. And we, some people might not even realize the Pro Bowl was on last night for football,
I didn't. I'm being serious.
And by the way, John Scott was trending over Calvin Johnson retiring also. So you had a bunch of things. You had a bunch of things happen, and I agree with you. I think the NHL got it right, and my hat's off to them for the way they handled everything.
Well, they might have gotten some dumb luck too, Jay. They may have. They may. The fans.
Of course, there's dumb luck. Of course, but still,
take it though.
You got to take it. They escaped. Yeah.
And I do like the 3-on-3 format. I wasn't really a fan of at first, but I mean, and you could see the players are actually playing for something with that. $1 million on the line, nice little bonus for them, and I liked that 1-0 game. I
thought it was funny that Roberto Luongo said, "Oh, it's not about the money."
Yeah, I know.
$100,000 doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah,
I was like, "What? Yeah. Who are you going to give it to then?" That was.
But yeah, it was a great event overall. All-Star Games has really lost their lust in the last couple of years in all the 4 major sports, in my opinion. And I mean, that kind of revived it. I think next year now, people are going to really tune in and see what happens. And, I feel bad for John Scott, though, in a way. I feel like the Coyotes kind of traded him, or maybe were possibly pressured from the NHL in trading him and saying...
it's funny you said that. It's funny you said that, Jonathan, because Linda Cohn, I talked with Linda Cohn after the game last night, and Linda Cohn says, how do you think Phoenix feels or Arizona feels right now? Do you think they gave him away too early? Do you think they could use some publicity right now with a guy like John Scott? I said, that's a pretty good point by you, but unfortunately, he's going to be the only player in AHL that's won the MVP to an All-Star game, NHL All-Star game. So I guess he's got that on him.
Very interesting to see if Montreal even does anything with him. My instincts
that was a big question. That was a big question around Nashville again. And the big question was, do you think that John Scott will get another chance to play on an NHL sheet again? And it was pretty interesting to hear a lot of the takes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Well, a lot of it will be predicated, I think, on what happens with the Montreal Canadiens, who are in dire need.
They need some size, but I don't know if that's the size that they need.
Yeah, no, not exactly. All right, let's. Speaking of size, let's go to New Jersey, the great big state. I guess literally or figuratively, not literally, of Jersey with John. John, you're up next. Roenick Life Pod with JR and Jaffe.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
We love having you on. Thanks for calling in.
I just wanted to note that I think he'll probably come back up to the NHL because of people probably want to see him after that.
Yeah, I don't think that draws. Well, I'll tell you, he's in Montreal. You don't need people coming to games and buying tickets in Montreal. It's impossible to even get a ticket. It's impossible to get a ticket to Montreal. They don't need John Scott.
Hey,
to
maybe
sell
he gets traded again. With his wife being pregnant, maybe he gets traded.
Yeah, that might be a good call by you. But I just don't think the fighter aspect of the game is gone. And John Scott is the last of the dying breed of the strict enforcer. And I just don't think that there's room in the game for him anymore. I mean, he was scratched 33 out of 44 games for the Arizona Coyotes. And if he can't play for the Coyotes, it's going to be tough to play for anybody else. I find it very tough to see him playing a game in the National Hockey League again.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, we got another one coming in. DJ in Framingham, Mass. DJ, welcome in.
How's it going, Billy?
Good. How are you?
What's up, DJ?
Love the podcast. Think it's changing hockey around. You don't get many people out there being able to talk like you guys do about the game firsthand.
Thank you.
But I just wanted to kind of chime in on the All-Star game and previous podcast of JR talking about John Scott. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to ask JR how he felt when John Scott gave him the little nudge and chirped him earlier yesterday.
It was great. It really was. And, you'll find me at times, I'll swallow my pride a little bit every once in a while, and it doesn't happen too often, but I will. And, John had a great weekend. He had a great game, scored great goals. And I love the fact that he came and gave me he gave me a little bit of the business. And you know what? Definitely a part of me deserved it. Without question. I'm not saying I was wrong in my assessment. Those were my opinions, and I'll stick by my opinions. But my also opinion was that he didn't embarrass himself. He acted with class, and he played a very smart, good game. I don't think he should have won the MVP. I think that was a fan-backed, energy-packed decision. I think
the fans want that feel good.
Of course, and that's fine. I have no problem with it. I mean, I think Luongo probably or Gaudreau deserved it more, but I have no problem. It's not like I'm saying that I have no problem with them winning it. I just thought that the other guys were better.
All right, Jay. Hey, what did you drink? What was your drink of choice this weekend? Was it
my drink of choice? It was funny because every place I went to, I asked if they had the tin cups for the Moscow Mules, the copper cups, and none of them did because everybody would steal them. It wasn't to the last place. I went to a place called Moto. And Moto had the copper cups, and I enjoyed my Moscow Mules with a big smile on my face, but my drink of choice was two things. It was a vodka soda with a lime and a bottle of water. That was my drink of choice.
Well, I don't know if you drank Grey Goose.
Oh, by the way, we also had a few shots of Fireball. So
shocker.
We were on
shots.
fire.
Very shocked. I'm shocked to hear that.
Just a couple.
Well, I was going to bring it in and try and tie it in because we got a guy by the name of Goose on Long Island. I thought maybe you drank some Grey Goose.
I had Grey Goose and soda. That's exactly what I had.
There you go. I figured. I know you too well in certain ways. I figured that Grey Goose would come. And Goose, welcome in.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
What's up, Goose?
All right, so I kind of slid into the DMs on Twitter the other day, or last night actually, after I saw John Scott win the MVP. Just wanted to share possibly an opinion on that. I got to say, man, a couple of weeks ago when you were on that rant, JR, about how he kind of didn't deserve it, I was right there with you. And then last week I read that article that he put into the Players Tribune, and it kind of occurred to me that there might be a lot of fans out there who, I mean, obviously there were a few that were doing it as a joke. And I thought that was rude, honestly, to him. Like, I thought that was demeaning to him, and I didn't think it was right. But there was another demographic of fans that were doing it because they felt that he legitimately deserved it. He's one of those guys that for years he's been putting his body on the line, protecting his teammates. And the enforcer guys is a dying breed. They're not really the guys who get a lot of the credit. They're not the kind of guys who get to have something like an all-star weekend. And to see yesterday what that meant to John and his family was unbelievable. So I heard what you just said about him maybe not fully deserving the MVP honor because I agree with you. It probably should have gone to Gaudreau. But to cap off the night with that kind of an honor is awesome.
It is.
Like the smile on his face, to see his wife crying over it, see his little girls, they're adorable, like didn't really know what was going on at the time. But in 10 years, when they see someone make a reference to this on the internet, they're going to ask, hey, Dad, you know what? You got to tell me the story about that night. And he's going to get to tell this amazing story that they were a part of this weekend at Nashville.
Absolutely.
I think it's one of the coolest things I've ever seen in sports.
Hey, Goose, you know what? Great points. A lot of great points. I'm going to respond to a few of them. I totally agree with you. This is something he'll remember forever. It's something that a lot of people are going to remember for a long time. His little Players Tribune thing, if you think he wrote it, if I think he wrote it, I don't think he wrote it. I think somebody wrote it for him. I think there's a lot of people in Nashville who really didn't like that post by him. A lot of people thought that he was
Why wouldn't they like it?
Because they thought he was reaching out for the sympathetic vote. He was trying to find the sympathy of people saying, oh, yeah, okay, well, that's why he should be there. Oh, because he rode the bus for 10 hours. Oh, because he fought for his teammates. I will agree, yes, he's gone through the ringer. But do you know how many guys have gone through the ringer for their teams? How many guys have ridden the buses for thousands of miles, for thousands of hours, trying to get to the National Hockey League, trying to do it? Lots of guys have done it. We just heard Aaron Ekblad talk about Sean Thornton, how he will fight for anyone on his team. Sean Thornton has won a Stanley Cup. He can play the game at a good level. Mm-hmm. He is one of those warrior guys that has gone through the ringer. He's gone through the ringer for his team. He has been benched. He has been put in the stands. He has been sent to the minors. He's broken bones for his teammates. Mm-hmm. You don't think a guy like that should have been the fighter guy? That would have been a nice tribute to do an all-star thing. I think so. He scored more goals. He scored more points. He has more accolades. I think that would have been a good guy if you're going to have a fighter in there. How about Sean Thornton? How about going up into Ottawa with Chris Neal? Chris Neal can play the game. He's played it for a long time. He's supported his teammates. He's near the end of his career. So if you want to talk about the fighter, the guy that, oh yeah, we want the feel-good story, there are a lot of guys who have battled hard. There's a lot of guys who rode the buses, okay? There's a lot of guys who don't have college educations. by the way, which John Scott worked hard to get. Okay, who probably don't have anything to back themselves up on after a career. So was it good? I didn't really like that Tribune feed. I think it was a grasp for the sympathetic vote. But again, it worked out. It worked out fine. And I like your take. I would have thrown in Sean Thornton if we wanted to have a strictly fighter to be in the All-Star game.
Well, interesting stuff. I hope you get some rest, buddy.
That was a great call. That was a great call, by the way, Goose. Great.
We appreciate it, Goose. Always like getting Goose, right? We get Goose on, we get everybody else on. And we'll keep trying to take calls regularly. We got a lot of things planned coming up in the next few weeks here on Roenick Life Pod with JR and Jaffe. Real quick before we get done for the day, your schedule this week is what, my friend?
Oh, my goodness. It's not so bad. This week is kind of quiet. I'm going to go watch my son play Avon Old Farms in Connecticut. He's in prep school there, so I'm going to go watch his game on Wednesday. I work on Thursday, and then the craziness starts. Then I get on a plane Friday, and I fly to Minnesota. I transfer to Regina, Saskatchewan, and I drive 50 minutes up to Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, where I'm going to have a great time with the people of Moose Jaw. I'm going to do some stuff for their youth program up there and do an appearance. Then I'm going to fly to Chicago for the Super Bowl, watch the Super Bowl on Sunday, and interview Andrew Shaw out in Chicago. So that's going to be a fun little escapade.
Where are you going to watch Super Bowl? Any idea?
I don't know. Okay. I haven't thought about it yet. I have a bunch of friends in Chicago. I'm sure I'll find one establishment to find.
Yes, you
watch.
You do. Yes, you do. All right. Well, this week I've got Boston Bruins on Tuesday and Thursday, games against Toronto and then Buffalo. And I think after that, I think I'm home. Saturday, I think I have another Bruins game before heading to the NHL Network for Sunday and Monday. I end up getting to spend Super Bowl Sunday at the NHL Network, but that's all right. We'll be done early enough. We'll be able to watch that. And then next week, Monday or so, you and I will be talking again and doing another Roenick Life Pod with JR and Jaffe. So it should be a good week for both of us, and I'm sure we'll talk in the meantime, bud. Get some rest, all right?
All right, buddy. Great show today. Thanks for everybody for calling in, and thanks for Aaron Ekblad. That was sick.
That was excellent having Aaron Ekblad on. We really appreciate him taking the time. So thanks, everybody, for listening. Remember to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. You can also find us on Stitcher and on TuneIn. You can also tweet us at Jeremy Roenick, which is at Jeremy_Roenick, or at BJaffe, BJAFFE, for questions, and leave questions, comments, and reviews on the iTunes podcast review page. We'd also like to really thank our sponsors, Zillow and Wix.com. So that does it for this week. Roenick Life Pod with JR and Jaffe, powered by Digital Media.
This has been a Digital Media production. Find your voice.